Okie dokie, everyone. It is 10:11. Wow. So we are going to get started. Unfortunately, the first thing that you guys are going to learn in the Python decal is not Python. You will be learning about your computers because that is the first step to being able to do Python. Because unfortunately, you need to know where things are. So, we're going to talk about the command line and we're going to talk about scripts. First of all, some announcements. Everyone should fill out the Google form linked here. If you go to the slides from the first lecture, there's actually a link on those slides to this Google form, so that you don't have to use the QR code. It's just so we can say, okay, everyone can make at least one office hours. The office hours are going to be listed on the next slide. So tell me if you have not received an enrollment code, or if you haven't added Ed or Gradescope, if you haven't been added to those. For Ed, you kind of have to go to your B courses and click on it. Otherwise, if you email me, I can send you the invite personally. So that's fine. And then if you haven't installed VS Code or Anaconda, I know I sent out a couple of enrollment codes over this weekend. So if you haven't managed to get that done, there's an office hours right after this lecture with Brianna and Pranathi up in 355, which if you guys haven't been is on the 3rd floor. Yeah, and then the instructions are also on week 1, lecture 1. Any questions about that before we get started? Great. What? Okay. Office hours, time, person, place. If you want a picture, take a picture, but don't worry about it because it's available to you on multiple different platforms. Yeah, if you guys, for whatever reason, want to, none of the other instructors are here. Okay, if you guys want to visit your soon-to-be favorite instructor, I'm on Thursdays, 3:30 to 4:30. Yeah, we love seeing people at office hours. Even if you don't have questions about this class, if you have questions about your computer or anything else, come. It's very likely that we'll have time to chat. It's always fun. We're also undergrads. We mostly all have research, so if you have questions about that, you can answer those. We also generally are very good about responding to emails. So yeah, cool. Let's get right into it because we are running a little late. So table of contents for this lecture. First of all, we're going to talk about your computer, like I said. Unfortunately, before you can learn Python, you get to learn your computer. Then we'll talk about languages. Your computer shell is in a language called Bash, or ZSH, depending on what version of Mac or whatever. If you have a Windows operating system, you are in PowerShell, and that's a nasty language, and I don't like it. You will not be discriminated against for having a Windows computer, though. But in the fullness of time, we probably will ask you to use a terminal called Git Bash, and so that basically is a emulator of the Mac terminal, which is sneakily a very specific language. And then 3, why? That's a question I expect you guys to ask, because it's weird. Why? And it's a question I asked when I first learned about my terminal. Why do I need it? I mean, yeah, okay, it makes me look like a hacker. That's pretty dope. But why? Why is it important? So we'll talk about that. First of all, some definitions and structure. So the structure of your computer. Everyone knows what their desktop looks like, right? You all know what those little folder icons that you can just click on. So if you open the interface where you see your files, for the Mac, it's called Finder. But you can also see some of your files on your desktop. The system is a user interface. So basically you're interacting with your computer through an interface that makes it so you don't have to learn binary, because binary sucks. Although it is fun to learn how to count on your fingers. I learned that in high school and I was insufferable. So some important definitions for you guys. Everyone knows what a file is, I hope. Please tell me. Basically text files, CSV, we'll talk about those, PDFs, JPEGs. This next one, IPYNB, those are Python notebooks. We will talk about those in the second half of the class, unless we have talked about you guys using your notebooks on the side. So if I say you should be in a Python file, but we've talked about you not being in a Python file, don't worry about it. You guys know who you are. .py is a Python file, not a notebook. And then .fits is a very interesting astronomy-centric file format that I love and that you will all come to love eventually. My goal here is to spread the purview of fits. I want everyone to use fits files because they are amazing. So next, a directory. That is what we call a folder in your computer. Everything is in folders. If you have multiple users on a computer, you can have them in the base folder called users. And then is your username, and that's a directory. It's a folder that contains all of your stuff. So for me, my home directory is inside of the users files, and it's called CG Tolly. But a directory, see, it's like a folder, it's a file folder. You can store things in it. It's great. And so where are those files stored? We call it a path. It's basically a treasure map of how to get to your stuff. You can you can open things from it, you can move things with it, but you have to be very specific about where you want things, and you have to know where things are based on what path they're in. So the example up here is that inside of users, inside of this big users directory, where if my computer had more people, I would store all of their profiles, I guess. And then inside of that is me, CG Tolly. This is all my stuff. Inside of that is desktop. That's all the things you see. There's also the downloads directory, and that's where all the things you download go. It's great. Computer scientists are so inventive. And then from desktop into school, you find that school folder or the terminal version of it. And then the command line, you can interact way more directly with those. So you don't have to go through this user interface that some random computer engineer in Silicon Valley decided for you. Mine is all fancy, and I really enjoyed customizing mine. So if you want to learn how to do that, you guys can come to my office hours. Any questions so far? It's a lot of information to take in. Please raise your hand if you feel like you could kind of explain to me what a path is. I'm not going to call on you. Don't worry about it. Okay, great. We will work on that. Most of the understanding will come with using it, especially in second homework, I think. That's one where everyone figures out what it is. So as the slides say, let's talk some more about the command line. Bash and Python. Haha, we're getting to Python, but we have to go through Bash first. Bash is a very, very interesting language. Built on it is the language ZSH. That's what any Mac computer is going to be in. I just use Bash as shorthand for Bash and PowerShell, just because PowerShell is irritating to write out. Again, You will not be discriminated against for having a Windows machine, I promise. So essentially, Bash is for talking directly to your computer, like I mentioned, without having to go through the stupid, like, visual interface. I love the visual interface, to be quite honest. It can be so much easier, and you can, like, kind of visualize everything, but sometimes command line, that's it for me. There are dozens of commands. I will share with you guys a bunch of cheat sheets of all the commands you can use. Here are some. I would take a picture. Let me move this. This Zoom recording will go up, but for now, holy crap, that was a lot of fun. We're going to do a bit of a demo, and I'd like you guys to have this handy. These slides will be released right after lecture on the pages, which the link works this time. So for Mac and Windows, they're very, very similar commands. There's pwd. Pwd basically says, hey, tell me what directory I'm working in. It returns a path. CD and then new path, you can change where you are in your computer's infrastructure with this command CD, and it's the same between Mac and Windows. ls basically lists out everything that is currently in your directory that is in the directory you are in, unless otherwise specified. So you can say ls and then a path, and then it'll list something. It'll list what's in the directory that you specified. But if you just say ls, it'll list what's in your directory. Make dir. Can anyone tell me what that means? I know I have it up there. I forgot. Yeah, it's just making a new directory. I love these names because they're so silly and so simple, and they're very like merkdir. There's move. Basically, you can move things from the current path to the new path that you want it in. The thing about paths is they have to be relative to where you are. So it's not like, so you kind of have to, if you want to move something into a previous directory, like the directory that encompasses the one that you're currently in, then you have to account for that. And we will, I promise, do a demo. There's rm or del for Windows, removes a file. If you are in your home directory, do not just write rm and hit enter. It will erase your entire disk. Do not do that. It's very powerful. James, so the guy who started this decal had a friend who actually erased his whole disk with this. And that blew me away when I was in this class. I was like, so clear clears your history, because as you'll see in the terminal, kind of builds up, gets messy. Not a huge fan of that, so I like using the clear. Then SSH is a really, really interesting command. You can get onto a different computer from the current hardware that you are on. So I know we like to think of like the hardware laptops as our computer, but they're really not. They're really just monitors. They're fancy monitors. They're really nice monitors. But you can get onto a different computer that lives somewhere entirely different just with your command line, which is a hint of why this is so important. Demo. Let's see. What will my demo be? We're gonna new share. We're gonna go to my terminal. See, hacker stuff. I know. Radiolab. We're going to Pranathy and I are in a lab class, and yeah, Pranathy's file names are very funny. Holy, oh my god, why would you do that? Okay. So, okay, right now, we're in my Radiolab directory. We're in my Radiolab directory. Does everyone see? Can everyone see this? I can enlarge it a little bit more if that helps. Great. I changed the command line prompt to Jarls because I think it's very funny. And that's what a bunch of my friends call me anyways, because it's my Discord username. It's really kind of embarrassing, but it's also very funny. And then inside of, so Radiolab SP 2024 is inside of my desktop. Can anyone tell me how to get to my desktop?
You guys can use the little photo you guys took on your phones earlier. Yeah.
And if you don't know something, feel free to Google or raise your hand and be like, hey, we don't have enough information. Yeah. Yes. So CD is the command you're going to use. But remember, we need to specify the path. So what will specify that I want to get to my desktop? Note that that little tilde right in front of my desktop, that's my home directory. That stands for users/cgtali. So basically, if I want to just go straight back to my user thing, I would just have to say cd tilde.
What are we looking at here?
Great question.
What is it?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and thank you for asking it. This is my very, very silly command line. Oh, and I cannot.
Everyone can also open up their own command line
Oh,
on their
yeah, yeah.
laptops
And you guys can follow along.
and
with
follow
this.
along. So the way you're gonna do that is if you're on Mac, I believe you just look up terminal question mark. If you're on Windows, you also just look up terminal.
Yeah.
Or PowerShell. So do that and you'll get a fun, funky little screen that'll make you feel like a little hacker. The same.
So if you open up your Spotlight search and type terminal, everyone has it.
If you don't have something pop up, raise your hand and you can come around.
What
Yeah.
is it now? Like, what are-
It is a very direct interface with your computer. Unless, sorry, one more thing. If you want to talk to your computer on a language higher than, or on a language more specific than this visual interface right here, then you can open up your desk, or you can open up your terminal. This is a way to communicate to your computer without having to use binary, because binary sucks.
So like, if you think about like your file navigator, you know, where you're like going through like your little file folders, clicking through things. That is the visual way of doing this. Okay. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? So like,
Thank you.
exactly, like this little file explorer. If you like, look at the lower level, like closer to the computer level actual code of it, that's what you're,
Oh God, that's not what I meant.
except the terminal is also like more powerful than just that.
Yes, but for basic purposes, that's what this is. That was a great question. Thank you so much. And also great answer. Thank you, Prathy. So yeah, the command line is basically a more powerful version of your Finder. It also updates faster than your Finder. So if you move something there, and you don't see it in your folder for whatever reason, maybe you have a trash computer like I used to have, then it'll be in your terminal. It always is. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Sort
Okay. We'll continue to talk about it. So we have our cd command. We know we need to move. Cd is our move command. Like us moving out of Radiolab SP 2024, because unfortunately you guys don't get to work in my Radiolab directory. So there is something I haven't taught you, and it's this ... thing. So 2 periods That just means the directory previous. So the one that is above Radiolab SP24. The reason I say above is because I like to think of, unfortunately, this will not show up on the Zoom recording, but,
If you write it on that for the board question, like,
oh, true.
you're good on the Zoom.
So we have this big users directory. Inside of it is CG Tolly. So I think of it as like a tree. If there were other users, there'd be other people. Great, cool. You know, when your computer is like, are you the only one using this computer? And you're like, yes, I am. It's asking because maybe there are other users. Inside of CG Tolly, there's a bunch of directories. I'm not going to list them all. One of them is desktop. So if I say a directory is higher than desktop, I mean the one that encompasses it. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay. And it is totally fine if it doesn't. It threw me for a loop for the first year that I was working on my terminal. Not gonna lie. It's a very weird thing to get used to. So we're gonna do cd ... Now we're in my desktop. Does anyone remember how to see what's in my desktop?
Also, quick note, if any of you guys are trying the CD command, it likely will not do anything because you guys are probably in your home directory. So do not worry.
What's that? Yes, perfect. So ls, if you're on Windows, I think it's just the word list, but I might be wrong. So in here you see automated decal apps.csv. That's kind of embarrassing. You see Radiolab SP 2024. You see a screenshot. I don't remember what that is. You see this, which again, a little embarrassing. You see emails to send. As you can tell, a lot of my life in the past week has been sending you guys emails, so I really hope you appreciated it. PyDecal homework discussion, pythondecal.github.io. That's the website. We'll talk about that. And then my wallpapers, because your computer needs a folder of photos to choose from, because it's stupid. That's another thing you'll learn in this class. Computers are dumb and you are smart, and that's the problem. That's what's going wrong with your stuff. You think too highly of your computer. Stop doing that. It's not that smart. Now, let's make a new directory, because I don't really just want to be having loose files in my desktop like the ones that you see up there. Just ignore that. So what's my command for making a new directory? I have a Mac, remember that when you're looking at it. Shout it out. Mcdir. The very stupid spelling one. Now, what comes after it? I heard something? Yeah, what do we want to name it? Go crazy. It's my computer. Maybe no swear words because this goes up on YouTube. But yeah, last semester it was unicorns. Do we want to do unicorns again? Or maybe dragons? Dragons are cooler. Do dragons. This is gonna be, yes. You can if you want.
really can if you want.
Follow along.
Yeah. If
Um,
you want. You're just gonna have a random folder on your desktop called Dragon.
yeah. Which can be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also helpful to like type it out, follow along.
Exactly. Okay, so inside of dragons, there's nothing. There really is nothing. Someone shout out the command to get into dragons. Yep, and then what comes after it? Great. So now you're in tilde desktop dragons. Yes.
Because you're already in desktop, you don't need to do tilde desktop dragons.
However, you can.
That is a thing you can do. So tilde is a shortcut. So if I go cd tilde, that gets me into my home directory. Does anyone remember the command for seeing where I am on my computer? Not quite. PWD? Yes. PWD. LS shows us what's in where we are. So you see users-cg Tolly. Tilde is a shortcut for users-cg Tolly. You can make more shortcuts like that. Look it up. I don't know how to do it. I will look it up with you if you want to come to office hours. So to get into oh, let's see what's inside of my users. Yeah, we have Anaconda 3. Y'all should have that as well. UG Radio, that's for Radio Lab. Homework 2, that's for your guys' homework 2. It's my downloads, my documents, my desktop. So to get into, if you type cd tilde from wherever you are, it'll get you back to this directory. It's very helpful, especially if you're lost, like I get a lot. So, desktop and dragons. Let's see. Does anyone have something they would like to do? Does anyone want to like make a new file or move an old file into this? Move this folder into, yeah, what's that? Old file to this. Yeah, let's see. So, from inside of Dragons, I'll probably just try to move something from my desktop. So let's move emails to send. That's pretty easy. And it shouldn't be loose in my desktop anyways. Okay. Does anyone remember how to do this? I'm gonna walk you guys through some steps. Yes. MV, yes, that is your command. The trickiest part is figuring out how to identify what you want to move and how to say where you want to move it to. So, where is this emails to send with relation to dragons? Where is it? Where is the file emails to send.csv relative to dragons? Where we are. Yeah, go ahead.
Desktop.
Yes, it is in desktop. Where is desktop relative to dragons?
Think of the little tree.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So how do we identify the directory above the one that we're in? Yes, perfect. So this is where paths come in. If you go ... dash emails sub2 subsend dot CSV, you don't need quotation marks unless the file name has spaces in it. I highly recommend you do not put spaces in your file names because it's really upsetting. Instead of doing this, I want to make sure that it's here first. So I'm going to show you guys one other command, and it's called find. Basically, it says, okay, where is it? Great. It's where we thought it was. It's in ... dash emails to send, because ... represents our desktop. Another way we could have done this is find tilde dash desktop dash emails to send .csv. It's there. Wonderful. Now let's move it. We want to move it to the directory that we are in. So mv ... dash emails to... Unfortunately, I can't scroll up on this. Like, it doesn't include more space after the bottom, so that's always fun. Emails to send .csv. What comes after this? Yeah, so we want it to be in Dragons, and we could do... But where are we right now? Where are we doing this from? we are doing this from Dragons, right? So we want it to be in desktop dash Dragons, but we're in Dragons. So I'm going to show you one more thing, and it is the dot. The dot means current working directory. It is where you are at this moment. And another thing we have to do is rename it or give it back its name, same name. Basically, you're changing the path for this file. You are not moving it in the sense that you think of, you're just changing its path. Yeah, what's up?
Does the number of dots denote how much higher up in the directory tree something is? So if you did 3 dots, would it be users?
I don't think so. That's actually a great question. We can try it after we finish this. Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't think so. I've never seen it. But yeah, we'll learn something new. So should we rename it something? The file that we're moving. So we're not moving it as in picking it up and putting it in somewhere else. We're making a new copy of it, deleting the old copy, and making the new copy inside of this new path. Yeah, what's up?
How do you know you're deleting?
You don't. Because it's fundamentally identical in every respect. So it really doesn't matter. That's kind of how I like to think about it. And also, I'm pretty sure that's just how computers work. Yeah.
Like if that didn't happen, wouldn't you be left with 2 files called emails to send one in the Dragon and one outside of Dragon?
There is a different. Yes, that's a great question. There is a different command called CP. If you want both to stay where they are, if you want 2 copies of this file, CP is just copy. So do we want to do that instead? Or do we want to delete 1 copy? I don't personally need 2 copies of this, but we can do that. Let's just stick with move. But yeah, that's a great question. CP is something we can do. Let's see. Move emails to send. I don't know. Let's call it Charlie isn't organized. .csv, because it's still a CSV. If you just change that that .csv to something else, it doesn't automatically change format. Unfortunately, I wish it worked like that. Cool. Now, how do we check to see if that worked? We can do find. There's a easier and less typing intensive method. Yes. It's there. And it's titled Charlie Isn't Organized, and that's true. I'm going to move on from this because we are running out of time. Anyone have any questions? Great. And I'm very sorry for the people behind the poll. I know it's hard to see. Okay. Stop share. Share my screen again. To this. Slideshow. Okay. We've done our demo. Now it's time for some Python. Yay. What is Python? It's a high-level interpretive programming language. I'm sure everyone here knows what that means. So it's very common in most science-y fields. Astronomy is my field and Pranathi's field. Chemistry, I'm pretty sure it's very common, although I think they use R more. It's a very similar language. Physics, general data science. General data science is also Pranathi's realm. So what does high level mean? Can anyone guess? Hint, it does not mean complicated. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess like applicable to a lot of things.
That is a great, yeah. I mean, yes, it is very applicable to a lot of fields. And part of the reason for that is that it's very readable. If you've ever seen excerpts of Python, it looks kind of like English, but wrong. A lot of the commands that you use in Python, a lot of the language is basically English. There's in and for and from and import, stuff like that. So yeah, it's very readable. That means it's less readable for the computer. And high level versus low level means how readable it is for computer versus humans. The more high level you go, the more readable for humans. The lower level you go, the more readable for computers. The lowest level language is binary, which is the language of gates. And if you have ever taken an electrical engineering course, you will understand what that means. You guys don't have to, fortunately. If you guys get into instrumentation, you'll probably learn a lower level language. They're really, really cool. Computers are very interesting. Fortunately, we don't have to care that much about them. It's great. Except Pranati. Pranati had to take 61B. Interpretive means it requires an interpreter between the computer and the coder. And that's also related to being high level. The more work the interpreter does, the higher level the language. Any questions? Cool. It's also a calculator. Great. So get out your terminal. If you do not have it, you can just watch. That's fine.
Highly recommend you follow them, like highly.
Where is my Zoom? There is my Zoom. Let's share my terminal and share. Okay. Yeah.
Clear thing for your
Mhm.
journal. Is that clear? Everything you've done, does it just delete what's on there so it looks better?
Number 2.
Okay.
It deletes what's on there.
Clear to select things. Everything you did will exist.
Yes. So you still have a history. So let's, okay, if you haven't downloaded Anaconda yet, you will not be able to do this because, but if you have, go ahead and type Python 3. Now we're in Python. We're doing kind of some Python.
If this doesn't work for anyone, please raise your hand right now. I'll come around and
Thank you.
troubleshoot.
Wait, honestly, is the command different for Windows?
No, it's Python.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Sorry, if you're on Windows, haha, you're gonna have to do this funny thing, which is leave your PowerShell and go into your command prompt. And
Oh,
then type in
yeah.
Python 3. Sorry, guys, Windows is a little wonky.
This is why I don't like it.
I'm a Windows user though, so I can hopefully help people. If you're on Windows, go look up command prompt and then type in Python 3.
If you haven't downloaded Anaconda, again, you will not be able to do this. That's fine. We'll figure it out. And you can just follow along. Yeah?
If you see the 3 little sideways arrows, that means you're in Python.
Want to see? Here.
Everyone, if you are there, start typing in a math question. Like, do like 2 + 2 and hit enter and see what happens.
So basically,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's weird, like, I don't know for that, but it does work. You're gonna go like. Why did, wait, should it be?
Okay, if it doesn't work in your prompt, try in PowerShell. And it's okay if it opens up the Microsoft Store, that's basically telling them to get like an updated version of Python. Don't. Windows.
Okay, so if I put that in here. I don't see why we don't.
Hey, Crosby, what's up? It looks like Python is downloaded, but she has Anaconda. I mean.
I'll come over on both PowerShell and.
Yeah, so it's just opening up the app, like find it, like the store. Like get, it's telling her to get.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Like, give me like.
Yeah.
No, okay.
That's very confusing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
It's run full Brianna today. And it's in the.
I didn't say, I didn't like.
if there's a window, and it's something weird happening, and not letting you run through command prompt or PowerShell. Oh, I got
I don't know, like-
clarification on Ed, which I figured.
Okay, there's an update. You have to update the Anaconda. That's what's happening.
That's why it's taking our Windows users to the store. Okay, we're gonna do 23 plus 24. That's 47. Oh my God. Wow. You can do math. Unfortunately, I can't do arithmetic anymore. I've taken too many calculus courses. It's really unfortunate. We are going to, the way to get out of Python is this command, exit parentheses. And now we're back in Bash. And now share. Okay. Okay, does anyone else have this question? This is a really weird thing. It kind of feels like I'm teaching you guys how to just mess around with your computer. Is anyone wondering why? Please raise your hands. I'm actually genuine. Thank you. Good. I'm glad. You should be. Why? Great question. This is why. So yeah, I know. So over the summer, not to brag, but I went to Chile to do observing on the Cerro Tololo, the Blanco 4-meter telescope, with my PI. You do not do any like moving around of the telescope anymore. Like that's from bygone days, like from 20 years ago. That's bygone days, by the way. I'm only 21. So everything happens through scripts, and the easiest way to do this is with your command line. You can't really run Python scripts without it. So basically this script, there are multiple scripts going on here. In this Python is basically saying, okay, let's point the telescope. Let's track the quality of the observations. That's what that plot is over there, and continuously update it as the observations come in, somewhere around 80 seconds to 230 seconds. So it updates automatically. And then when something went wrong, it definitely did, I had to go into my command line to fix it. Had to. When I got out of this class, I hadn't learned terminal like I'm teaching you guys. I went to my new boss and he was like, why don't you know terminal? And I was like, I'm so sorry. Please help me. And he was nice enough to help me figure it out. So that's why we're doing it now. And this is also why. This is from the same thing. This is what I had to do. I had to get into this new computer I didn't know jack shit about and mess around with it. It was great. It was so much fun. Totally not stressful. Totally didn't almost break a like $1 million computer. So yeah. There are some things you can only do with Python on your command line. And it's very cool. It's very cool. So specifically, I've said this word scripts like 7 million times and haven't told you guys what they are. They are files containing code that runs continuously. So if you write a script, feed it through Python, then it will, what will it do? You write a script and you feed it through Python, it'll follow the command, it'll follow the instructions verbatim until it finishes out the script. So if you have things like loops in there, it'll just keep going until the loop is done. That can be hours. For example, I was up for 12 hours every single night I was observing, and the script was running that entire time. So these scripts can be edited in text editors, and that's what VS Code is for. I code on my terminal. I prefer it. You'll develop those opinions yourself. But we ask you guys to do VS Code because it's very streamlined. And then about halfway through, we'll switch over to Jupyter Notebooks. So yeah, that is the end of that. And what time is it? Nice. So I'm gonna kind of show you what a script does. Let's go here. And great. So we're going to create a Python script. To do that, there are several different commands. My favorite is nano. It makes the most sense to me. You can choose Vim if you want. Don't. Vim sucks. Why? Why did he force you to Vim? Vim is awful. It's impossible to get out of. There are some
Like colon W.
awful. That's terrible. That's what happens when you let computer scientists do their own thing. I joke. I'm sorry. I really hope there are no offended computer scientists. I'm just gonna stop talking. So Nano is a different text editor in Python, or in Bash. It's great. I love Nano. It's very simple. We're gonna name it something. We're gonna call it Hello World because this, we're gonna call it hello world.py. Creates and enters into a text editor. It is a Python.
Sorry, super quick thing. If you're on Windows, I highly doubt this will work. So don't worry about following along. Just watch.
We'll get to VS Code later, and then once you guys get GitHub, then you'll be able to use a terminal called Git Bash, and that does this. But for now, I'm just kind of showing you what a script does. Don't worry about following along. You will be able to as soon as this is over. So we're just gonna say print. That's just a command in Python. Print hello world. World. Okay, remember to close parentheses. We'll enter. And then ls, okay, hello world is there. Let's run hello world.py. The way to do that is you start with Python 3, the command you use to get into Python on your terminal, way up there. And then just the name of the script. Hello world. Guys, I can totally spell. Hello world.py. It printed. I'm a coding genius. I don't need anything else in my life. I printed hello world. And you can too. On Wednesday. Leave. Or come ask us questions.
Yeah, feel free to come ask us questions. I also have my office hours upstairs in 355.
Yeah, 355. Yeah, you have 355.
Stop by and ask questions. I think that's.